This is one of just 700 2017 BMW M4 GTS in the world, and the first of just 25 cars coming to Australia. In fact, the car is so special, it has to undergo this very specific 2,000 kilometre running-in program and service before we're even allowed to touch it. So before we get behind the wheel, we have to wait for them. It's like finding out what you're getting for Christmas in November. You know something really cool is coming, but you just have to wait. The M4 GTS isn't actually the first super special M4, M3, it's confusing I know, to land in Australia. Back in 2004, just 27 of these, the M3 CSL, landed down under, and the car has now become a very collectible modern classic. The CSL even pioneered the carbon fibre roof that we now see on a standard M3 and M4. Now there was an E92 M3 GTS, but they were all left-hand drive and none came to Australia, which is why landing an allocation of the M4 GTS is actually really cool. Now, like the CSL, the F82 GTS has got some pretty cool stuff that may find its way onto some more, well, pedestrian BMWs in the future. Cool stuff beyond the very serious track day hardware, that is. There's fully adjustable coilover suspension that the guys are dialing in now. Carbon ceramic brakes, a whopping 410 millimetres or 16 inches in diameter with 6-piston calipers. Adjustable aero front and rear. The splitter can be extended for more downforce and the rear wing angle can be altered. There's this lightweight titanium exhaust system that, as well as some carbon components and removal of some equipment, helps the whole car save around 27 kilos over a standard M4. Under here though is this. It's a water injection system which cools the air before combustion, which allows the 3-litre twin-turbo 6 to generate a massive 368 kilowatts, or a nice round 500 horsepower, as well as a massive 600 newton metres of torque. Now before we hop inside, check these out. OLED taillights are first for any production car. They don't make it any faster, just cooler. All right, well, it's pretty snug in here. You've got fixed back racing seats and 6-point harnesses to further reinforce that track day feeling. Not to mention behind me, there's a painted jungle gym half cage and fire suppression system that are part of a no-cost Club Sport package. To be honest, you really do have to tick that box. There's a bit of weight saving. Check out these door cards with a very simple strap handle. There's a very basic air conditioning system, but you've got full iDrive. It looks and feels like a BMW. You could probably live with it every day. I could live with it every day. So what do we say? Are we good to go? Okay. Okay. Now, this being Melbourne, you can probably hear it started to rain. So we've had intermittent weather today, which has made us treat the GTS with a little bit of, well, I guess, care would be the right word, because these super sticky Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyres on the car, when the road is dry and sticky, they provide phenomenal grip. But when it's a little bit slick like it is now, well, we've got to be probably a little bit more careful. This is somebody else's car that nobody else has driven, by the way. And actually, that's a really good point. The fact that we had to go through the service procedure means we are the first people who have ever driven this car beyond a pre-run-in stage of 4,500, 5,000 RPM, which is only when peak torque for the 3-litre twin-turbo comes into play. And revving it out past that, well, I have to say, whoever's driven it beforehand's missed out on all the fun. So running around town in the GTS, well, I have to say, you do look like an extra from a Fast and the Furious movie, what with the orange wheels and the giant spoiler on the back. But inside, it just feels like a really racy BMW. You've got the Alcantara everywhere, as we've looked at, but everything else is the same. Standard iDrive controller, standard radio and buttons and headlight controls. It does feel very familiar. And when the roads were drier earlier, we were able to push the GTS around a few corners, and what you find is you can see, even though it is only 27 kilos, the car feels substantially lighter than a standard M4. Now, whether or not it's just the way that the car's been dialed in, you've got that much more, I guess, aggressively tuned suspension. You don't have variable dampening inside the car like you do in a standard M4 or even any other normal BMW for that matter. And it's actually a blanked button down here on the console where you normally find your suspension rates. The car is It's very firm, it's bouncing everywhere. You are driving the car. There's no relaxed kind of passenger role here, but it's not uncomfortable. You could live with the M4 GTS on a day-to-day basis. But what you find, and you may be able to hear, it's pretty noisy in here. We can hear the exhaust gurgling away behind us. And it's a very present noise. So you need to be the race car person to want to enjoy this car. You get a manual with the car. It's like a 40-page document that warns you that the car's going to be noisy, that things are going to rattle, that it's going to be firm. I think it's a really nice touch from BMW, just in case someone accidentally buys one of these thinking they're getting a nice, comfortable Grand Tourer and not, well, basically a racing car. Now, as we saw earlier, the giant carbon ceramic brakes are actually standard on the GTS, and you've got to build a bit of heat into them to be effective. And I tell you what, they do wash off speed quite comfortably in this thing without fade. And I guess that's the key of your carbon ceramic brakes. They don't run out. They can do corner upon corner upon corner, perfect for the track, and very handy when you're out here on some nice B roads. But the biggest call out of the GTS is obviously the different way in which the engine behaves. Fundamentally, it's the same as you find in a standard M4 and M4 competition. It's the same 3-litre twin turbo inline 6. It's got more power, it's got the trick water injection system, but the power doesn't come on. Rather than that wall of torque you get as a real whoomp in a normal M4 that comes on just below 2,000 RPM, the GTS starts to only really kick in above 4,000 RPM. So you really need to keep the car high in the rev range, which means you're going pretty quick to really get the most out of it. Really reaffirming that this is not just another fast car with a roll cage. This is a track car, and that's what it's designed to do. But let's remember, the GTS costs $300,000. That's pretty much exactly twice what a standard M4 costs. So is this really double the M4? No question, it's special. Around the cabin, you've got this wonderful Alcantara on the dash inlays. The wheel is just delightful to hold. You've got the really cool race car-like straps and lightweight door trims. It's a special car, but it's not twice the car the M4 is. The M4 is a really, really good thing. Perhaps where this car really fits is more in future value. If you're buying this as part of your super fund, perhaps, you're protecting your investment, because this is going to become a much more collectible item than, say, a standard M4 ever will be. But when you do get a chance to wind on the throttle in the GTS, this thing has got legs for days, and it just pulls and keeps you in the top of that rev range, certainly until you run out of road. Bottom line though, it's a pretty exciting and one hell of a fun car. Right. Now, you probably can't smell that, obviously, but there's a really sweet sense of fuel vapor in the air that's, I think, coming from the water injection kit. It's actually quite addictive, just like the rest of the car. Now, I've driven plenty of road-going race cars over the years, and this one's right up there with the best. It's fast, it's capable, it's surprisingly tractable, providing it's dry, and despite all the hardcore race hardware, it's actually really quite livable for driving around town. It is different to a standard M4. The way that the power delivery works, you've really got to drive the car pretty close to its limit to get the most out of it. And in a way, that's what makes it just that little bit special. So after hearing all of that, you want one? Well, too bad. All 24 customer cars were pre-ordered and pre-sold. So unless you're the CEO of BMW Australia, who I've got to go and give the keys to this one to in a minute, or you've got an order on a car yourself, this is as close as you or I are going to get to this amazing machine. Well, I guess I'll just have to take that one home instead. Well, somebody has to do it.